It's amazing the amount of admirers that a murderous dictator can acquire over the lifetime of their dictatorship. Fidel Castro was pretty unique in that sense. And it's interesting because today was the day that Ted Turner, the founder of CNN, passed away, and he was an admirer of Fidel Castro.
Buenos dias, Presidente.
Buenos dias.
In the United States, we hear that there are severe economic problems in Cuba. Is this true?
Bueno, sí.
And this is how the Castro regime has been able to hold millions of Cubans hostage for decades. First of all, thanks to the useful idiots that have legitimized his murderous tyranny. And technically speaking, the way they do it is basically through their relatives that left. I don't know if every single Cuban has relatives living abroad, but for those who do, they will get something. They usually get money. And the agencies in the United States that provide the service of sending the money, sending the food, a lot of them are actually owned by military personnel in the Castro regime. They're run by those people. And if they're not entirely run by the military, any one of those agencies or any one of the people who even do it privately, or personally, individually or independently, they have to pay the Cuban government, which it's I can't call it a government because it's a dictatorship and a murderous one at that. I have family, and I know I go through this for the the few relatives that we still have living over in Cuba. Whenever we send them cash, which now that's basically all they can really use, and I didn't want to make the joke that now they're basically using the cash almost just to burn it and have some type of heating or some way to cook their food, because now a lot of Cubans are resorting to breaking up whatever wood they have in their house, breaking up chairs, cutting up doors in order to be able to cook food. And before people continue to blame this on the U.S. embargo and Trump doing this is that regime, okay? It's the regime. It's the Castro regime that is still in power that continues to imprison and torture and at times execute any Cubans who speak out against this. That's not the U.S. embargo. The imprisonment, the torture, and the killing of Cubans, that's on the Castro regime, not the U.S. embargo. And it's amazing the amount of people who have no family there, who have no ties other than maybe someone they met when they were on vacation over there on some poverty porn tour, how they will continue to defend this and continue to criticize actual Cuban relatives and Cuban exiles, people that actually lived it and left it. They'll somehow criticize them. And I don't even want to mention the names of the pseudo-intellectual, useful idiots that recently went to Cuba, that whole brigade that engaged in basically, you could say, poverty porn. It's a term that I've heard before. Don't want to mention their names more than anything because they're a bunch of narcissists, really. They're not really journalists, and they're not, I guess they're activists for their own good feelings, for feeling like they're being heroes. And these people basically are the first to criticize any relatives, anybody who actually wants to see that regime finally meet its end, like it's made many innocent Cubans meet their end, meet their fate. It just boggles the mind. And I'm trying to do this video as a single take. Don't want to make it too long and just speak from the heart, I guess. I'm really hoping, as someone who still has family in Cuba, that these will be the final days of the Castro regime over there. And it's just crazy. It's crazy. And as bad as the Castro regime is, apparently it's nowhere near as bad as the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, wow, the more I try to inform myself about what's going on in Iran, they almost make the Castro regime seem like a humanitarian charity. Or that's one thing that I won't exaggerate in that sense. What the Castros have known to do, and by the Castros I mean that family, because it wasn't just Fidel and his brother Raul. It's now the grandson, El Cangrejo, which is basically it translates to the crab, and it's whatever. I think it's because he's got a defective hand or something like that. The point is, it really is that family that's still calling the shots. And as much as many of us detest them because we know what they've made people go through, especially for people who've had relatives that were political prisoners for decades, by the way. And we know how the shortages work. The shortages that, that many media outlets will report on, and especially if they want to criticize the U.S. embargo, what they don't seem to realize is that if there are relatives abroad that pay the money for their relatives to get, let's say, chicken, they'll get that chicken the very next day. And it's not because they have such fast, speedy service. It's because that regime is hoarding the goods. They hoard the food. They hoard the medicine. And for the right price, your relative will get it the very next day, while other people are waiting in line for hours, if not days. I know I'm not going to change anybody's mind by insulting and shaming people. But it really does boggle the mind, the amount of apologists that the Castros have managed to acquire throughout their decades of tyranny. And we hope it's going to be coming to an end very soon. That's pretty much how and why the Castro regime has held Cubans basically hostage for decades, millions of them. It's because of their relatives abroad, the relatives sending the remittances and the fees that they collect. And that's why they have billions of dollars, as has been reported in certain media outlets. The amount of money that many in the regime have by the billions. I think the Castros themselves, that family, is well worth at least 2 or 3 billion. But I'm just, since I'm doing this as a single take, and I just want to put this out there with the urgency that seems to be happening now with the news, and what we could only hope is a necessary intervention. A necessary intervention to finally free the Cuban people over there. I don't have all the facts right there at the tip of my tongue, but they're out there. Yeah, and by all means, anybody, please prove me wrong in the comments below. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, check out the links below for my original art and merchandise like these shirts. And thanks for watching.